everyone. I hope everybody's having a great night. This is the Paranormal Pride with Denise Pridemore. I hope that this is going to be a great show for you guys. And make sure you ask your questions. I want to make sure that you guys get them asked. Just a heads up, it's going to be a short show tonight. I have something I have to do with my family and mostly related to the weather. So just keep that in mind. So get your questions asked early, okay? So tonight my guest is Heidi Taylor. She is a psychic medium out of Independence, Missouri. She's also a healer and a medical medium. She's got all kinds of stuff. I don't know what she doesn't do, okay? So you guys need to pay attention, ask your questions, and we're going to bring Heidi on up here. So,
hi, everyone.
So the big question is how did you know that you have all these talents?
Well, it was actually back in 1997. I started having dreams about a Diana dying. Come to find out, 2 weeks later, Princess Diana was killed. And that continued to happen, and things just started opening up from there. And it hasn't stopped since.
Well, Princess died. That was
definitely an event that you don't forget.
No, I mean, we all know where we were. If we were alive, we knew where we were when Princess died and Charles got married. And when she died, we knew where we were.
I don't.
No, I know you don't. You were working. Yes, the peanut gallery has to speak up. But well, it's just like knowing where you were when Luke and Laura got married on General Hospital. It was a big deal back then.
Yeah, it certainly was a pivotal moment in my life. And so they made sure from the other side, I knew exactly when I was waking up.
So you're also, let's see, you're a Reiki master or Reiki?
I am a Reiki master, yes. And I do energy work with that, yes.
And a medical medium?
A medical intuitive.
Medical intuitive.
Go ahead.
Just explain that.
What we've decided to describe it as is I can see through a human body like a human MRI. It's hard otherwise to describe how I'm seeing the energy flows. I can pick up on differences in the blood. I can pick up on differences in the bones.
Okay.
And it just is one of those things that unless you end up doing it, it's really hard to explain.
Oh.
So,
what happened?
I can't explain now.
Huh?
Something weird happened at Walmart yesterday.
Oh,
we were charged twice. It looked like.
Yeah.
57.
A plus and a minus.
Oh.
No.
So, and then there should be another plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, there should be 2 pluses and 1 minus. So, okay. Not a big deal. I took care of it at the time. So, when you do your readings, how do you determine what to tell the person that you're talking to?
Usually prior to the reading, I ask them if they want to know everything or not that I'm seeing. I give them that option. If I'm seeing something that is, going to make them pretty ill, I make sure I get permission before I do that. Usually by the time they're seeing me, they know something's wrong. And they've been to see numerous doctors and the doctors can't figure out what's going on and so on.
And I know I don't want names. Okay. Right. So when I ask questions, it's going to be all general and stuff that you're willing to share.
Yes.
So what has been I want to say unusual, but in this case, I don't want to be unusual. What was the worst news you had to give someone for their health?
Probably I was at a show in Topeka and a lady had her children sitting there with me and she asked if her cancer had stopped. And I told her no, and she already knew, and she was going to be gone within the next few months. And so that one was not fun.
What has been the most happy? I mean, I'm going to go joyous is going to be, you probably told somebody they were having a baby.
Right. I had a little girl. I think she's like 18, 19. Her mom wanted her to come see me because she was starting to do astral traveling. She was dream walking, and they didn't know what was going on. So she came. Well, come to find out, she was pregnant, and I had told her it's a little girl. Well, the next time we were at Casey Metaphysical, it was a little girl. She was still pregnant with her, and the little girl was telling me what she wanted to be named from the womb. That was super fun.
Oh, well, if they had some input, I guess they'd get really good names.
Yeah.
So, hey, Crystal. And welcome, everyone. And if you have questions, please ask, because tonight's show is only going to be till 8 o'clock. And believe me, if Heidi wants to do this, we'll have her on some other time to make up for the hour that she's losing. Apparently, we had some time change here. So just keep that in mind.
With the snow coming in, yeah, it's better to be safe for the family than not. So
yeah. So you're also, let's see, I'm trying to remember everything that I put down. I don't ever have notes in front of me because, if I put down notes, then I'm focused on those notes. I'm not focused on you.
I do auric readings. So I see the colors and all the energy movements there.
Now, see, that wasn't on the list.
I don't think it was, but that's part of when I do a medical intuitive reading. I go ahead and do the auric reading, and that way I know if there's spots with the mind, body, and spirit connection. Everything's all interchangeable, and so if I'm seeing spots or shadows in an aura, I usually know there's something more emotional going on that can also lead to whatever physical disease they're dealing with.
Is there certain colors related to certain illnesses?
There are. For instance, COVID has a nasty baby green poop and a yellow and a gray tone to it. I first started seeing that when COVID started coming in. I was like, what is that? And come to find out, I can see it on the person, and then I've seen it floating in the air.
So breastfeeding poop color is what you're talking about.
Yes.
So now you guys have a really good picture. So what is like heart problems?
Heart problems will usually come up with a darker red. Even though the heart chakra is green, it comes up with a darker red in the blood also. I'll see like oxygen flow issues where it's almost like there's a gap in their blood flow, or their veins will be shrunk. Mm-hmm. And it tells me there's something going on. Or I'll see the heart flip-flopping or a shadow on the heart.
Okay, so, hey, Angel K, how are you? She's also a medium out of Springfield, Missouri.
Hi, Angel.
Well, near Springfield. I don't know if she's
near Springfield.
Yeah. So, when do you do card readings as well?
I do oracle card readings, yes. When somebody sits down with me at one of the fairs, I usually pull out 5 or 6 decks and we just start doing the readings. So I do them multiple decks at one time, so I get a good picture.
Do you mix the decks together, or
I do? Yeah.
So they're not all the same deck; they're just multiple decks.
They're whatever I end up choosing. And my guys usually say, hey, use these. I'll have a row of one line for a baseline, and then for a certain question, we'll have another line from another deck and go on from there.
Okay. So why a baseline?
Usually I use my shadow deck for a baseline because it tells me where they're at emotionally.
I just find that interesting.
Yeah,
I've always found tarot cards
interesting. I've never seen anybody else do it like that, and I just felt, and this was the way I started doing it, and this is what's been right. And usually I'm right on top of things.
Crystal asks, is it all intuitive to you?
Mostly, but no, I do have a brain. It's all, from knowledge growing up. I am 55 years old. So, I do have a little life experience put in there.
So Angel asks if you do readings at one of the local bookstores down there in Springfield.
Not in Springfield. No. I have in Buckner, Missouri. I've been in Atchison, Kansas at a store that I've done readings at. And so if somebody wanted me to come to Springfield, then yeah, I'd go, if the price is right.
Well, you were just down in Republic this past weekend.
I
checking
was down there at a cemetery ghost hunting. Talked to the local witch down there.
Dead witch or
Yes.
real witch? Okay.
A dead witch.
We don't know anymore. I mean, we can't just assume.
No, a dead witch.
Okay, and tell me about this graveyard, because Ron asked me, and I said, just know it's near Republic. That's all I know.
It's if I tell everybody, make sure you do not be, you go in there and be nice to cemetery. It's Kerr Springs, and it's an old cemetery. It's got people that were from the 1700s in it. And it is, it's in the middle of nowhere down there. You know how the country roads are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have a web page that people have been down there and they've seen red eyes and so on. And yeah.
Well, graves from the 1700s are unusual in this part of the country.
Yeah.
There's not really that many beyond the Mississippi River.
Right.
I don't know if people realize that, but where I'm from, I'm used to seeing graves from 14, 15, 1600 easy,
right.
But out here, 1700 is what you're going to find, unless it's a Native
Mm-hmm.
American cemetery.
Right.
And those don't usually have headstones for you to know.
Oh, no. My partner that was with me, he had his temperature gun out, and two of the graves were running. It was cold. This is 30-degree weather. The two of the graves were running 25 degrees colder.
She asked if you said Cave Springs or Kerr.
Kerr.
There you go. So there's a schoolhouse not too far from there that I've heard about, that a bunch of people were doing investigating.
Yeah, we went through, I believe it was Billings, and it was like zombies were walking all through the town. It was crazy active because it was right after sunset when we drove through there.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think it was in Fairplay is where this school was. One of my guests that I've had on lives out near Republic.
Mm-hmm.
He's a ice road truck driver.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, in Missouri. He goes up to Alaska and Canada
and does that.
to do the
Wow.
ice road truck driving, and it was amazing. It was I want to go with Bud or Buddy something. He was a really great guest. I just can't remember his name off the top of my head. I didn't know I was going to be testing myself tonight. So interviewing people isn't hard. It's just a matter of getting all the right questions for the right person, because a lot of people, they want to know about, how you investigate,
right,
and stuff. Sometimes I want to ask those questions that nobody asks.
Yeah. Well, I was on an investigation over in just north of St. Louis over Halloween. And I went in and, I just sat down and waited for the ghost to come talk to me. And people, I don't go around, with all the machinery and everything like that. I just sat there at the table in the middle of the event center that we were in. And I ended up having several come chat with me. Little kids were running around, spirit wise. And I'd say, oh, this is going on up there. And then, find out that, the people that are down there doing the actual investigation are seeing the same thing. So, it's just, I'm not one to go walking around with all the machinery for sure.
Yeah. So you did that event. That was the one that was over there in Illinois, right? On the west side or the east side of St. Louis.
Yeah, it was Alton, Illinois. Mm-hmm.
Believe me, I know Alton like the back of my hand.
Yeah, well, that we were in Mineral Springs, and and that place is certainly active. I got some information on one of the bad guys, and I looked it up on my daytime job as a professional genealogist. I came home with all the information he had given me, and I looked up and I found one that matches a bunch of the details he gave me. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So what did the local dead witch have to say?
The local dead witch, I actually went down there because I'm writing a book about her on a recipe she gave me. And so I needed to go ask her a few more questions.
The difference between measurements back then and measurements now is totally
Yeah.
different. So,
Well, the recipe she gave me, I'm actually writing a book called The Werewolf Recipe, and she gave me the recipe to make people into werewolves, which was fascinating. And when it comes out, I'll come back on and we'll do some reading from it.
oh, please. That would be really interesting. So, so you weren't too far. If you'd gone maybe 45 minutes east, you wouldn't have been too far from Laura Ingalls Wilder's home.
Really? I was in Crane, the actual town where I was at was in Crane.
Yeah.
So where was that at?
It's in Mansfield. No, is it Mansfield? It starts with an M. It's not Marshfield, but I think it's Mansfield.
Okay.
And one of the girls that is one of my paranormal children gave me a cookbook on how to cook blackbirds.
Oh, wow.
Because they are a problem down there and people would eat them to get them to go away.
Wow.
But I have a recipe for that. Not that I'm going to go kill blackbirds and clean them, but it's kind of like, you remember all those old cookbooks when we were growing up? It would have, have rabbit stew or elephant stew, and it would say, get one elephant and then cut up, 200 rabbits to go with it. And, it was like 300 pounds of carrots and, all this weird stuff. But it was one of those, you got me kind of things.
Right. Well, speaking of blackbirds, as we were leaving yesterday, we drove through a full flock of crows, which happens to be called a murder. So there was probably 20 of them sitting on the road when we drove through.
So, I know you'll fix it, Carl. You'll fix it. So,
what's going on?
Well, he accidentally blocked the wrong person.
Oh,
and you met Susan at the paranormal conference. Yes, I know. I saw that. So he was trying to put it up that it was Mansfield.
It is Mansfield. Okay.
So like I said, it's funny. we always have one troll who comes in, and that's okay. You know what? If it wasn't for trolls, we wouldn't know we were doing this right.
That's right. They want to come out and have fun too. So the amount of people that came down there and they end up settling down there. The witch yesterday, she was telling me about that she's buried by the Bethany Church over there, which is not where I was at. And I said, what do you mean, Bethany? I'm like, that's Northern Missouri. She says, and apparently there's Bethany Protestants that I did not know about. I've got to do some research on that. And so, because she said her daddy was a preacher and her mama was a witch. So
but they had some really good arguments.
Yeah, but mama's witchcraft was not known. She ended up, she was delivering the babies around town at that time.
There's a lot of Ozark lore down there. I actually have a book on that. The thing is it's very similar to the Appalachian as well as the Smoky Mountains. So you read it and you go, well, okay, this isn't any different than what I read up here. But yeah, there's a book that you can get I saw it at Wilson's Creek. They had it there at the park about the folklore. And it's amazing the different stories that they have there in that run rampant through that area.
Yeah.
And we watch it all the time when we see, we'll see these people in that area and they'll talk about it. You go, well, that's strange. And it's not strange. It's just normal. So
yeah, there's definitely, at one point I was in the cemetery, the National Cemetery there in Springfield. And, I was walking back to the car by myself and I had a soldier pop out in front of me saying, ma'am, can I help you? And, I'm like, no, just go into the car. And, he stood there and watched me while I went back to the car. So
did you go down and check out the Knights of Pythias? They have theirs is just, so when you're near the road, when you're coming into cemetery number 1, just down a little bit, it's Hazelwood and it's in the same cemetery, but it's just down
where I was at.
To the right, and you'll see the Knights of Pythias and all their graves are right there together. So that's all the the people that lived in the Pythian
Oh,
Castle
wow.
that were decided to get buried there, of course.
Wow.
Were forced to be
What I
buried.
did hear and see was wagons I was feeling and seeing going through there. And at one point, there was a being that looked like a wolf, but it was on all fours running through there. It was quite active that night.
It's a busy area anyway. You
Mhm.
know, it's not someplace that I would suggest anyone go and investigate at night, to be honest.
Are the paranormal investigators on Mindsea TV or YouTube for real? I don't know what Mindsea TV is.
Me either.
Some of them on YouTube, yes, are for real. Some of them are not.
That's true. I agree. There's some. So, how do you decide which ghost should be moved on and which should be left alone?
I have a hardcore rule on that, actually. If you're harming a human or you're disturbing one or you're really upset, you got to cross.
Doesn't matter to where. Basically,
well, I open a portal and call on the angels, and so it does it wherever they end up after that is their soul journey.
like I always say, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
That's right.
It doesn't matter where you go.
I was over by Osceola, Missouri, at one of the cemeteries, and I got there, and it was quiet, just dead quiet. And we were walking through the cemetery, and I look up, and I saw, a gentleman, a spirit form, up by the trees up top where the old church had been. And I walked up there, and I said, I can see you while you're still here. And he said he was the caretaker. And I said, okay. And he says, they came and took them all away. And I said, what do you mean they came and took them all away? Apparently somebody had been there and opened a portal and had just had everybody else leave, and he didn't want to go. And I said, do you want to go or you want to stay? He was like, I want to stay. I'm like, okay. I let him be. He wasn't doing anything that, was affecting anybody wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to stay there. So, that was his choice.
He wanted to keep on working. He wasn't ready to retire yet.
Yep.
So Robert asks, what's your opinion on Ouija boards, do's and don'ts?
Ouija boards. I just did a class called Let's Talk to the Dead. And as far as Ouija boards go, I say, are you afraid of wood? Are you afraid of glue? Are you afraid of paper? You can take anything and pull a spirit through it. So it just depends on what you're doing with the Ouija board. Know what you're doing. I actually make them, and so I don't have a problem using them. But I was holding up a Dasani bottle, and I said, I can pull a spirit through here if I wanted to. This is not, it's not a matter of the object being bad.
So, well, we had a talk about this a few weeks ago about dowsing rods.
Yes.
Divining rod, anything that you're using to talk to spirits is no different.
That's right.
Pendulums as well. So all of this goes together. Is if you're using something to talk to a spirit, then
yes,
you're opening something.
Yes, the pendulums can do the same thing. Hi, Kara. Maureen B is Kara.
Okay. Hey, Kara. And so Steve, nice to see you here, Steve. And I hope Susan's back. So you only should have been
in a situation that you were actually really scared. The only time that I got to the point where I just threw the being through the portal was when he brought up an axe behind my back and was going to hit me with it.
Is this in Villisca?
No, it's actually at a private home in Lawson, Missouri.
Oh, okay. Because there's a private home in Paola that's related to the Villisca ones that nobody can get in.
No, this one, he actually used to be the main banker in Lawson, Missouri. It was his old house. And he came up behind me in the basement, was going to whack me with an axe. And I'm like, you're out of here.
And your mom says hi.
Hi, Mom.
My mom always used to come into all my shows. And
my mom is psychic too. So it's definitely generational.
Well, that would have been another question eventually.
Yeah.
So how many generations is it just the women in your family?
Actually, no. Right now, that's alive right now are my mom, myself, and my son. From what I understand, it's through my grandpa's line, which is my mom's dad, and then it goes up Grandma Lemunion's side. So, and her line goes into a gypsy line.
Oh, so is your family Hungarian?
No, actually, European, German, English, Welsh.
Because I know a lot of people that are Hungarian consider themselves to be gypsy.
Oh, I need to know how to handle this.
How do you basically? You just need to know how to handle the spirit. Jane,
right.
Jane is she's Welsh.
Yes,
she's out of Glasgow. So she's out of Glasgow, Scotland. And sorry, Susan, I'm glad you're back though, and you should be getting unblocked here pretty soon. If not, at least the next show, the blocking doesn't stay here. So I'm so sorry. It was an accident.
Do they come back in every show?
Yeah, because the trolls come back every show, so you'll be fine. So I just wanted to let you know I'm sorry. So, and I'm blaming Carl. So blame Carl. He's taking it. He's in. So, when is your next show that you're going to be?
Next show is actually next weekend at Harrah's, Kansas City. It is Casey Metaphysical, the winter show. It's the 18th, 19th, and 20th.
Well, that's good. I mean, at least you don't have to pay to park at Harrah's.
No, it's around in the convention center area. So, and people just go around to the back door and come right in. It's $9 for entry. And if you go online to their webpage, you can get $1 off coupon. So,
I mean, at least it hasn't gone up much. I mean, because it was always $8 before, and now it's $9, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah. And I'm going to be doing Saturday night at 6:00. I'm going to be doing a 2023 prediction panel at that event.
Oh, okay. Who else is going to be at the panel with you? Do you know?
I know Karen is that does numerology, and I really don't know who else that Sylvia and Gigi have put on there.
Okay. I know that Shay Moyers goes to a lot of those.
She's not going to be at this one that I know of. I know there's another show that Carolyn, who does the KC Mystic Fairs, will be in over at St. Louis this weekend also.
Yeah, I just saw that Shay was just up here in Overland Park over the weekend, so I didn't know if she was involved in the same one as you. I
haven't seen her. Last one I saw her at was actually a KC Mystic Fair. Yeah.
Was it the one I was at?
No, this was this past.
Oh, actually, I don't think I saw you at that one when I went to the Kansas City Mystic Fair.
No, I was
in March.
There's too many shows.
There is, like I said, I went back in March because Katie asked me to come, and I was like, okay, I can, because that's a little bit of a drive from here.
Oh yeah, for you it is, yeah.
But it's a nice area there, and now that it's Christmas shopping season, it's going to be more fun to get to.
Well, yeah, I mean, getting into Harrah's, it's not, as far as the highways go, it's not bad.
No, hopefully they're done with the construction.
I haven't seen any. The last time I was through there, 435 and 210 there were fine.
Yeah, they're done.
Yeah, he's out all the time. So
good.
I know I took Lacey there. She came in to visit. She's my oldest. And I had to take her and her boyfriend to stay at Harrah's because they had a free room.
Yeah.
So it's been a little while, but the construction was horrible there. So
yeah.
Let's see. Here we go. We got another question. Robert asks, who do you recommend following to learn more about numerology? Is numerology something you're experienced in?
Karen Goodson is the numerologist I recommend to everybody. No, I don't do numerology. She can be found on her Facebook page, and then also at all the fairs I'm usually at. Okay.
So, and then your cousin, my cousin's in here too. Your
Lori's in Upper Michigan.
And she asks, I'm just wondering if you can ever shut it out, or if you always have people talking to you.
I can shut it out only with barriers. If I open the doorway, like my partner's that lives with me, his family would just walk right in the house. And finally I said, you got to knock first. And so I have had people where, just pop in and say, that they didn't know the rules.
We didn't know
or it was an emergency of some sort. I did have one of my cousin's daughters was killed, and the rest of the family, I got the actual phone call the next morning. She popped in the night before, looking for, grandpa, because grandpa had already passed, and I had to call him in to get her, and she had been killed. And so when things like that happen, no, it's not, that I ignore a lot of it.
Well, one lady used to tell me that the only way she could turn it off was like to put on a hat, physically put on a hat.
Oh, wow. No, that doesn't work.
Well, for her, it was the symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'm off.
Yeah.
And then when she take it off, so basically it was telling the spirits she was able to talk if she didn't have her hat on.
Yeah.
And like, well, that would suck at work.
Lori, before Grandma Mabel passed away, your Aunt Mabel, my grandma, Grandma Beatrice came through when she showed up at the door in a hat and gloves. So I don't think I ever told you that she had showed up to pick up her daughter.
And Elena, she says Heidi is also an awesome teacher and mentor.
Aw, thank you.
So speaking about that, how often do you mentor someone?
I actually teach classes. I have Elena is down in Arkansas, and she sees me every Wednesday. And we have gone through medical to intuitive classes, metaphysics classes, witchcraft classes. Right now we're doing some Lee Harris stuff work because we're both doing the intuition classes. And, I have scheduled classes with people weekly. So,
and Robert asks, Karen, he says, Karen Goodson, quantum creator and healer.
Let me look and see if that's what it says on her thing.
Yeah, he's saying question mark. So
it probably is her, but her page is numerology.
So there you go. Hopefully.
Let me look and see real quick, since I can look her up.
Perfect, Susan. Thank goodness. Carl, don't block her again.
Yay.
Carl. Susan.
Karen's page says master numerologist, 30 years clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient, psychic reader. And she has a numerology background on her page right now. Her webpage is, let's see, Facebook. Looks like Karen Numerologist.
Okay, well.
It's called Numbers by Karen.
There you go. She's got your number. There you go, Robert. So Steve asks, who do you recommend for teaching on astral travel?
I do that too.
Okay.
I prefer people to start on their own as far as learning what they're doing and start taking notes. I will tell them to get there's a Llewellyn book on astral travel I recommend. To go into the etheric plane, I prefer that they work with their guardians.
So how would they know that?
That we have to start learning what clairvoyant, clairsentient is and learn how to use your gifts. So if you're astral traveling, you're probably already doing the rest of the stuff and don't realize it. Like for instance, if you've got you're hearing static in your ears or something, I tell the guardians to tune it in. It's not up to us in physical form, it's up to them. And so, tune in an old radio, you can get them to, talk to you so you can hear it.
Okay. Well, Barbara has a question for you. She says, is numerology, I don't even know what that says.
Nazra, that's a Karen question. I have no idea about numerology.
I just know it's seeing numbers and reading them and what they symbolize and what they truly mean for you. It's kind of like dreams. Mm-hmm. Different people read them different ways.
She does numerology charts and all sorts of things like that.
So I know that, I mean, there's a lot of books on numerology. I mean, there's a number
Right.
of them.
Yeah. Well, there's and back to the astral travel stuff. There's a lot of people, they say, use your cord and stuff like that. That's never been the experience with me. I've never, never not been able to get back to my body.
That would suck. I mean,
yeah. There's always a beacon.
Yeah. So I am going to Advent, and it's 25 to get. Oh.
Whoa, on the Queen Mary, on the Mary Queen of Scottish last home, and it's just, oh my, okay. That's going to be active. Just pretty sure we're not going to have any problems seeing or hearing spirits with that.
No, it'll be very busy. Yeah, you won't be getting much sleep. If you're trying to sleep, you're not going to be getting much relaxing time.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to say the least. So
yeah, I have a friend colleague that is up in up there just south of where the Queen Elizabeth passed away. She's about 60 miles south of there, and it's definitely active up there.
One of the people that's on our network, he lives here now. Mm-hmm. I think he's at least working here, but he has a haunted church over there that he lives in, that his father made into a home, and he was telling us some stuff about over there, and it's very unusual. So, and so many things that are so haunted over there. Hello, Northwest Paranormal Research Group. And guys, if you have any questions, please ask. I'm more than willing to ask them. But I know I did astral projection or out of body experience, if that's easier for people to understand. I did that a couple times in my life, actually probably more than two, but two that are major for me. Apparently mine happens when something major happens in our lives. Mm-hmm. Somebody in our family has been killed, things like that. I mean, I witnessed my grandmother and my father both be murdered. So it just makes you wonder, did something shock me into going,
Right. And that's, we talked about that a little bit at the Paracon, and, getting that energy just to say, hey, I need you to go here is, there's definitely a connection line energetically. That happens all the time with that. And the difference between, the astral traveling and the lucid dreaming, and it's pretty much all the same for me, day or night, whatever, and, but if, like, for instance, I do Akashic record readings, and if I'm going into a place, it's all astral, I'm going into the astral plane at that point.
So Maureen asks, what are your favorite beings, spirits to interact with?
Seriously, probably my guardian dragons. I call them Larry, Curly, and Moe for a reason.
Okay, so they're physical humor.
Yeah.
So that's good. See, in my case, I would probably call them Manny, Moe, and Jack, and people would look at me like, what the heck are you talking about? Do you not know the Pet Boys? I know they weren't a pop band.
Mm-hmm. Well, the guardians, they you have your guardian creatures, and the other species that we end up seeing, and people just sometimes have a really hard, thankfully there's, the more we get higher in the vibration, the more that people are seeing, and it's coming out on the film and coming out on the cameras. And it's definitely, I had the paranormal group that I was with, they're the Haunted Souls paranormal group is who I was with, and they have one picture that is a really clear of a spirit, and they're like, is this a ghost? I'm like, yes, it's a ghost.
Yeah, they're wanting to be, they're going to be part of our Born No Travel Required Supercon.
Fantastic. They're great guys.
And so are you.
Thank you.
So we got to get you booked in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so guys, make sure that one of the things I'm working on is getting you guys an advertisement out there to talk about the Born No Travel Required Supercon. And why there's no travel required? Because nobody has to travel, and we get to do it from the warmth of our own homes with no snow. So now Steve asks, is hearing tones normal because it's not tinnitus?
Oh, you can tell. Well, I can tell the difference by looking at somebody, whether it's tinnitus or they're hearing a spirit. There's a difference in, like, looking at their ears. I can see whether they lock up or not, and be able to tell whether their eardrums are clear, and be able to say, yeah, I think it's the spirits that are talking to you, or the spirits will be talking to me, telling me that they're trying to talk to them.
Yeah, one of the things, another thing it could be is high blood pressure. High blood pressure can make your ears ring, and it seems like tinnitus. And losing your hearing can be tinnitus.
Yes, yeah. But usually it'll be, there'll be spirits standing behind the person saying, I'm trying to get a message through them and they're not hearing me.
Oh yeah, that happens at times.
That's normal. That's normal. That's very normal for me.
Yeah, I've told people before, I've gotten scratched in a graveyard, and it wasn't because they were they were trying to, they were just trying to get my attention.
Right.
And that's what people need to understand. There's a scratch, and then there's a scratch.
Yeah.
And we know the difference with our animals. I don't know why we have to make everything demonic with spirits.
Right. Yeah. And that's just it. The majority of dark beings that I've actually seen that are demonic are few and far between. It's one of my old neighbors. He called me the other morning. He says, I had to bite myself to wake me up because I was seeing bad people in my dreams. They were trying to attack me. Well, come to find out, no, he's psychic, and I've known he's been psychic for a long time. And he was seeing beings that are rising right now, and he lives over by a lake, and it was the beings from the lake that were coming up. And he was seeing the distorted beings and thinking that they were bad.
Yeah. Northwest Paranormal Research Group, I'm sorry that you keep cutting out, but we don't seem to be having any problem here. When I do, I always say something so everybody knows. So yep. Hello. Be nice to visit with you. Send me a message and we can talk. So here you go. You got another question here. It's to your cousin. I'm here to offer anyone's private and accurate readings. This is not the place for that. When I'm talking to my guests, advertising for somebody that's not been on the show is not the best thing. I'm sorry.
By the way, if Lori needs a reading, she knows where to go. And she has. Yeah.
I just find that not nice.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yes, it's yeah. And actually, I find that I don't trust some people as much when they do that. It's one of those things where I'm here to, and sometimes I find that they're actually vampiring other people's energy, and I don't appreciate that.
You know what? Talk a little bit about that, about vampiring people's energy.
When I come across somebody that's offering free readings or pushing a reading on you, I always step back a minute and watch them, because usually they're wanting to push their ideals onto somebody, or they're energetically wanting to connect with somebody's negative energy that they can feed off of. And I find it very off-putting. And so, just be cautious when you're going, to have a reading from somebody, and make sure that, our energies they're worth money at this point. And it's not that, I don't give away stuff anymore because it needs to be a two-way streak. It's not, I'm not going in there to try and siphon energy from you.
So, thank you, Angel. I took care of it. So that's, like I said, I just don't, it's like somebody coming onto your page and going, hey, she was wrong. Here's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
You don't do that. I mean, it's one thing to do it privately, but don't do it publicly.
Right.
And I don't think they do it privately either, but I can't stop anything private, but I can stop something public.
Yeah. I don't go around bad mouthing other psychics, but I also say I don't recommend them if I've seen something. It's one of those situations where we don't, we know what each other's making per hour. We have a set rate that we all discuss, at fairs, and we're not trying to undercut each other. We all have our own gifts.
And that's the thing. If you pick your medium, your psychic, your intuitive, you pick that based on your heart. You don't pick that because somebody has come out there. Now, I do consider myself a matchmaker between a person and a medium. I can tell who needs which medium based on their personalities. I can't do that with somebody I've never met. Okay. But if it's people that I know,
right,
you know who to send them to based on what they need to hear.
Yeah.
And the way they say it.
Right. He's asking what are some of the red flags when dealing with psychic mediums. Like I was saying, if they're pushing themselves on you. I will usually say or let somebody know, or they'll inadvertently hear that I can, talk to the dead. And it's up to them to come to me. I don't push myself on people. I don't go up to somebody and say, there's somebody here that wants to talk to you. Are you going to give me some money to do it? That's a red flag.
So when we went to the Paracon down there in Joplin, my original talk was going to be how to spot a fake psychic medium.
And I was sitting in the audience. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, when David said, hey, I want it to be you and Ron, it's like, well, then I can't do this because he's not going to know anything. And again, the way I did it was probably the best way, was getting everybody to know each other. But I have notes here of stuff that I had written down, and one of the things I found out that I did not know, that all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums.
Correct.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Why? I mean, I never consider myself psychic just because I see stuff. I never thought I was psychic. I don't know. I just kind of.
Well, if you can fall into one of the what's referred to as the clairs, if you're clairvoyant or clairaudient, which is, voyant is seeing, audient is hearing, when you can touch something and feel it, you're not necessarily able to speak to the dead. That's what mediumship is.
So one of the other things that a fake medium does is they read your body language.
Yes. They
read your fat fingers or how you're sitting, things like that. They can tell if you're uncomfortable and things like that. So, if somebody's just sitting there like this the whole time,
right,
you already know that they're mad about something.
They're uncomfortable, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or
their body language
very closed. There's all kinds of things. I can read people just because I can read people. I don't need, I can. And does that make me a fake medium? No, but it is what it is. I've always been able to read speakers.
Reading body language like that, it tells that you're observant, that you're paying attention to your surroundings. If I'm hearing somebody say, in my ears, Katie's here, tell my mom, and her mom is sitting in front of me waiting for her daughter to come through, then that's the appropriate time to say Katie is here. It's one of those situations where it's they need to come to me.
Right. And another thing is a fake medium is afraid to be wrong.
Right.
And if they have to know in advance that you're coming, that's not good either. You should be able just to walk up to somebody's table at a conference or whatever and get a reading without them knowing who in the heck you are. And if they tell you, I knew you were going to come, that's fake too.
Well, and that's just it. When I'm going into fairs, when I'm going into haunted places, I'm going in cold. I am not, I purposely don't want to know what's going on. Don't want to know what happened. I've actually realized recently, after watching the Ghost of Devil's Perch that you recommended, that I can pick up on the beings on the film.
And I tell people that all the time.
Yeah. I was sitting there watching it, and Cindy, the psychic on there, is walking in a room. I'm like, don't go in there. Don't go in there. And she ran out. And so, yeah.
It's amazing what we can see watching TV, And I know that all people can't do it, but it's annoying to me when there's a spirit right there with them and they're focusing on something totally different. And that spirit's sitting there going, what about me? I'm right here. Am I chopped liver? So, and I know that I'm making fun, but
but that's where they have no clue most of the time that somebody's there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Mike Nichols, I was watching one of his talks and he's like, okay, Heidi, who was behind me? And he had like clown beings behind him during his whole talk. And, we just sat there and laughed about it because they were all being, comedy jokesters while he's trying to do the serious talk. And that, if you know Mike, that's totally appropriate.
Oh, yeah. He's a goofball. And as serious as he is, he's Bob Newhart. I'm sorry. And for those of you who don't know Bob Newhart, he had a very straight sense of humor. Mm-hmm. It's just, he'd talk to you, tell you everything you want to know, and not have a smirk.
Yeah.
So another thing to watch for is if the medium remembers everything from the last time they talked to you.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because there's no way. I mean, because once I give a message, it's gone.
Yeah.
I don't keep it. It's gone.
I'll have people come up to me and say, do you remember me? And I'm like, maybe. And it's been, it might've been a couple of years since I'd given them a reading. Right. Because I'll be like, oh yeah. And, then I'll recall it after they brought it up. And I'm like, no,
it's not your information to keep.
No.
You give it to them and they're done. For you, it's like cleaning out the closet. You're done. And yep, I am dating myself, but you know what? Her and I are about the same age, so it's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and that's just it. People don't realize that we have been around. We've been around through many decades, and things are changing. Things are very, very different. And, to actually openly call yourself a witch nowadays is one of those things where people are finally, they're okay with it. That's why we're having all the psychic fairs. And, just know that some of the psychic fairs do not vent their psychics.
No, they don't.
Make sure you're going to something that's got a reputation, that's been around a while. KC Metaphysical has actually been around for 10, 11 years now.
Yes, and they just expanded to outside of the Kansas City area in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
I know. I called Lena. This was 2009, 2010. I called her to help with a case that we had in Nevada, Missouri, and I told the lady what was going on. And everything. And what was funny is I didn't tell Lena what was going on. I just told her that they needed help. And Lena told the lady the same story. And I never told Lena anything. And it's fun. I mean, and it's funny because it was a Green Mile kind of thing.
Yeah.
Somebody was accused of something they didn't do and got killed and never had a funeral or anything. But again, I don't know this. I didn't know any of the history of Nevada at the time. I do now, because that was the first time. I mean, we were just new into going into people's homes at that time.
Yeah.
And I found that, I really like going into their homes, but I don't like it too.
Yeah.
How do you feel about private investigations like that?
I'm okay with them as long as they're not taunting the spirits. I don't like the, come on, talk to me, blah, 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 and when they're demanding of them. I've watched enough to where, I was watching the 28 Days, the new show, and they got to an area where, some of the stuff I was seeing on the camera, I could tell that, there was actual spirit stuff going on there. But there was one of the guys that would yell at the spirits. They were
Jeremy.
Yeah. was and is not a fan of that behavior. There's been times where I will go in some place and clear it. And then they're like, well, that was our source of money. I'm like, sorry. I'm not going to have you treating the spirits that way.
Yeah. So, speaking of 28 Days Haunted, tomorrow night, our guest is Nick Simons from 28 Days Haunted. He marketed himself to me.
Which house was he in?
He was in Captain Grant's up
Connecticut.
there with Sean and Aaron. He's Aaron's best friend.
Okay, so that's one of the episodes, episode 5 on that one, I think it is, where they found what they were referring to as a pentacle.
Yes.
Right.
That actually made me very angry because of my genealogy background. They didn't do the study work on that, because if they would have found out that's probably a Revolutionary War item.
Yeah, it might have just been a design, or something.
Well, usually the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution, or something like that, will have those at the graveyard, and that one could have got buried or whatever. But typically, if you see somebody that's been in the Revolutionary War, they'll have that star with the tin around it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, and I've been through a lot of Revolutionary War cemeteries and things like that growing up on the East Coast. But it could also have been from, I know it wasn't from the Eastern Star, because that's a six.
No. And to not do the research on the fact that it wasn't a pentacle, it had nothing.
Remember, they couldn't though. They couldn't do any research because there was no internet. There was nothing for them to do. So they're just guessing.
True.
So,
yeah, that's true. But if they would have probably cleaned it, I bet you there was probably writing on there.
But again, if they did, we probably didn't see it.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't have fit the narrative that they were trying to shove down our throat.
And that's where when they went, I was fine until they went into that narrative, and then I was like, that's it.
Well, that's me and if you'd have been there for the panel, you weren't there for the panel talk, were you?
No, I had to come home.
They asked about what is your paranormal pet peeve, and mine is the flashlight trick. And you heard me talk about that a little bit during the talk when I was talking.
Yeah.
And the thing is Katie had just done that on Devil's Perch the night before.
Yeah.
And I was like,
no, that's.
Of course, I'm sitting right next to him, and he's going, leave it up to you. So
yeah, that's not. I'm not a fan of that one either, because it's any type of movement, the wind. While I was at Mineral Springs, there was umbrellas above me, and they were twirling. And then they would stop. I'm like, yeah, that's wind coming through here, and
there's a lot of air movement in that building. Yeah. Period. But that was one of the last places that I saw Coyote Chris. So I still miss him. And yeah, it's been a little while since he died last year. Yeah, it was last August. And but yeah, we used to volunteer together at McPike Mansion. So when you were out there, did you guys go over to McPike Mansion at all?
No, actually, I was out there for a Casey Metaphysical show for over Halloween, and we were invited, and I went in there that night. I think we left like at 12:30 because I had to be at the show the next day in Collinsville. And so, I was there for enough time to talk to the spirits and see one of them that was brand new that she told me, and it's not Rose or the other one that was killed by her husband, or the one up in the upstairs room. There was another one
who committed suicide.
Yeah, there was another one that was in her early 20s that was running down the stairs screaming her head off like every 5 minutes. And I'm like, I wish you guys could hear this because it's not pleasant. And then the other guy, there was an English guy that was chasing her, and she told me that she took rat poisoning and her mom was a hooker there. So
the one story there that irritates the life out of me is them saying that a little girl drowned in the pool and it was the men's pool. It's like,
yeah, no, there was a lot of kids around there. And when I first got there and saw them huddled in the basement, and I could see blood around their mouths, and they're just in tattered clothing, and coming to find out, block north there was a TB hospital.
Oh yeah, the Enos Sanitarium. Been there.
Yeah, I had no clue when I went in there.
Yeah, that's a really interesting place. But the other thing about Mineral Springs that people don't know, at least unless you live in the area, is that homeless people were living in the basement for quite a while. Plus, the mineral water made a lot of people sick.
Yeah.
And if you've been in the basement where the spring comes up, it smells horrible.
Well, I didn't go all the way down there. I went down to the level where the pool is, the main pool is, and was sitting there with Doug from the team, and I'm saying there's two men coming up, and And I started talking to them, got their full names, and they were dressed in Levi's. And we had to look up the years on the Levi's come in, and it was appropriate. And they were on their way to St. Louis to look at thrashers, steam thrashers. And they died of food poisoning on one of the boats. So
we have a question here from Maureen. Asks, have you ever been to the Missouri State Pen?
No, and I don't plan on it.
Yes, I have. 2 or 3 times. Yeah, I've been 2 or 3 times.
I literally will go, I'll start clearing stuff, and you guys don't want me doing that.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things about that place is, when they had the mold, that didn't help. And then they had the tornado, which didn't help more. Yeah. But the company I work for helped pay to clear the mold.
That's good. Well, that's I mean, the allergies, that's one reason I don't go wandering around a bunch of places. I prefer to be out in other buildings because allergies to molds is a thing.
It is. And
I'd rather not get sick. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, after having get lung nodules from Aspergillus mold, I mean, so that if I know exactly what it is, then, she's probably telling the truth. Yeah. So I don't like going.
You were sick for quite a while. Yeah.
I was sick for almost a year.
Because this interview was 3 years in the making?
I think so. I still have your card that you gave me back then.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going to ask you, where can everybody find Heidi?
On my Facebook page, it's Heidi Taylor, Medical Intuitive. AB Negative Arts is my Gmail, and you can reach me there and set up appointments. And I'm going to tell everybody, if you tell me paranormal from the show, you can get a 25% discount right now. So,
oh, well, thank you. That's very nice.
We'll see what happens, and if anybody contacts me. So,
well, like I said, I will make sure that I get with you. I will get with you tomorrow to get you booked for the conference.
Right.
So you guys,
and, I'm planning on getting the book out next May. So we'll get back together and talk about the witch from down south. So,
and you guys, if you want to see Heidi, she's going to be part of the paranormal conference that we're having here. And that's going to be like a traditional paranormal conference where Heidi's going to speak about something, and we're just going to monitor in the background. So you guys get to talk to her all you want, or she'll talk to you all you want, and then whatever. So
we may just do a spirit gallery. That'd be fun.
Do whatever it's up to you what you want to do. And I think it's going to be fun. December 2nd and 3rd from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Longer on Saturday if we have that many people booked.
Looking forward to it. So
everybody tune in tomorrow night for our guest Nick Simons on Paranormal Nation Radio, Not So Normal, at 5 p.m. Central. On Thursday night at 7 p.m., we have Discover the Paranormal with All Out Paranormal, hosted by Rex Nielsen and the rest of All Out Paranormal. On Shaman Sundays at 8 p.m., we have Carter Bouchart's going to be on there with Brandon Cooper. And next Monday, my guest is Nick White from Curse the Bell Witch. So,
that's going to be great.
Yeah, I interviewed John Selleck from Curse the Bell Witch years ago, and he was part of the Bell family. So this is going to be neat. To Nick finally. I mean, I've talked to Nick, not on the air ever, just personally we've talked. So it's going to be great. And so join us here next Monday night at 7 p.m. Central. And I hope everybody has a good night. Stay safe. If you're in Kansas, anywhere where it's snowing, be very careful. And I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.